Hello guys, BSIC here, and another jury day today. Oh, on this very nice jury day, on this coronavirus epidemic going on lately. But anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about. But today, what I'm going to talk about is our responsibility to our loved dolls and what we can, just what actions we can maybe possibly take when it comes to taking care of them after death do us part. Because one individual asked me this actually really good question, actually, out of the blue. They asked me basically, hey, I know I'm responsible for caring and taking care of my loved one and all that, but what happens, what do we do if we die or we're about to die and we don't want anything to happen to our loved doll, or what kind of responsibilities do we have to our loved dolls after we're going to pass on or we pass on. And I thought, it's actually a good question. I'll make a video about it and tell them a couple other things, but I'm going to get started here, start with my script here, which is basically on the internet. but And it's a bit of a long story, but it's a good one, actually. I was actually kind of impressed by it. So let's get started. And it's another story about Dave Katz. So here we go. Dave Katz is a 46-year-old data entry specialist, lives alone in his 600 square foot apartment outside Detroit, Michigan. But he by no means is lonely. He has his wife, 19 or 18-year-old Sidor, a real doll he lovingly calls his masseuse. Blood doesn't flow through her veins, and she can't eat the eel sushi Dave purchases them for dinner. But you wouldn't know it by the way Dave jokes with her, touches her milky white shoulders and plays with her shoulder length pubic hair. I've always thought of human-shaped things like mannequins and, in particular, dolls, as having lives of their own. Dave Katz told me via Skype with Sidor based him or beside him. I believe they have their own soul. I view them as people. Moving on. Come on. For someone who may live in a fantasy, Dave Katz is exceptionally self-aware. Like other sex doll owners I spoke with, he requested I use this online identity to preserve animosity, basically. So he cracked jokes from Sidor's Twitter account about being a synthetic, describing her grabbing her glass of water in the middle of the night to only realize she can't drink. He's also acutely mindful of the fact that he, unlikely Sidor, is going to die one day, of course, which is why he's already devised a malicious plan for what happens to her when he does. Dave Katz would like his body to be cremated, with the ashes stored in a bag and placed into Sidor's hollow head, which is kind of weird, but she's always on my mind in my life. I'll always be on her mind in death, he says. Then his best friend will move Sidor into her home where she is to sit indefinitely in a glass case holding a plaque that reads, "How terrible it is to love something that death can touch." She'll wear a mifuku, a traditional Japanese mourning kimono, as well as the necklace he gave her when he first bought her from nearly 2 decades ago. This plan is subject to change, as Dave Katz is hoping to gift Sidor with a robotic body for their 20th anniversary, in which case her once empty head would be filled with hardware. Should this happen, he'll likely have his remains pressed into a diamond that she'll wear around her neck and close to the place her heart would be were she human. As for Dave Cat's other three dolls, they go off to live with other idolaters, an affectionate term for people who, like Dave Cat, love collect dolls. One recipient will be Dave Cat's good friend, artist Amber Hawk Sawson, who became famous for purchasing and marrying a life-size doll made in her likeness and named Amber Doll. It's a close-knit company where we can take care of each other should anything happen, Dave Cat says. At least that's what he says. Life-size sex dolls are slowly... Now this is a different story here. That first story is ended. We're onto a different one now. Now, life-size sex dolls are slowly making their own way into popular culture. In Houston, Texas, sex doll company called Kinky S Dolls. Now, Kinky S Dolls is a site where you can actually buy a AI love doll. If you want to go see that site real quick or anytime after you watch this video, whatever, it's actually kind of a recommendable site for AI, I guess. But they don't have too big of a stock. But their average doll is like, what, $5,000 or something. They're kind of pricey, but some of them are like $1,000-ish. Anyway, moving on. So this Kinky Dolls S recently attempted to open their first sex robot brothel in the United States, where curious customers could test and rent a variety of models before purchasing. Yeah, I mean, test, hee. Texan lawmakers pushed back on the proposal, though, since brothels already exist in Toronto, Paris, Moscow, Germany, and other European cities. A company called Realbotix is now combining programmable AI with sex robots, promising users they can't be the first to never be lonely again. Yet, when there's one issue sex doll owners have yet to fully resolve, what to do with their synthetic companions after they've died. For the most part, options are limited. I reached out to funeral homes across all the country, and not one said that they would consider hosting a funeral service for a full-size love doll. One man who asked to remain anonymous said, "Money does not excite me." New Orleans-based Carbonet Funeral Home, which made national news in 2014 for posing embalmed corpses-like scenarios during the wakes, said it would also reject the request for sex doll burials. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Let's see. One option is to do nothing, thus leaving a doll behind for unsuspecting next of kin. And trust attorney Mario Correa advises against this and suggests owners to treat their dolls like any other tangible personal property or family heirloom, such as jewelry or fine china. Let's say you fail to specify someone. Then the doll goes into what's called a residuary estate, and it will go to whoever is the remainder beneficiary, he says, but not being clear about certain properties, especially a special asset in the family that could create problems. Those issues aside, or should include, but are not limited to, confusion, embarrassments, and family infighting. The seriously, all these fucking words. The inheritor of a doll may want to resell it After all, the dolls can retail upward of $8,000, but hawking once is more complicated than you might assume. On the marketplace site at the Doll Forum, an online space for doll enthusiasts, sellers have to disclose information such as when and where the doll was purchased, to say the least, what its body specifications are, if it had any repairs or has any damage, and of course if the previous owner had sex with it. Unless someone wrote out all these details and included them in the will, it will be nearly impossible for somebody unfamiliar with the doll to sort it out. I mean, Jesus Christ. Though most doll museums are unlikely to accept sex dolls, idolaters might have better luck donating their sex museum to sex museums, which sometimes display doll exhibits. A representative for Muse Foundation, a private foundation affiliated with the Museum of Sex in New York City, tells the Muse is always willing to consider donations, though the decision is to accept them ultimately entirely up to the foundation's discretion. Some companies, such as Chinese company Doll Sweet Dolls, if you've ever heard of them, accept used dolls for recycling or resale. The problem, a representative for the company says, is that the international shipping costs are quite pricey. They haven't received a single shipment from the United States for recycling or resale to date. And also, if you sent it to a recycling facility, it would just end up in a landfill. Recycling stateside is just as complicated. Here, I need to do this real quick. Battery's running out. Okay. So I'll read that again. Recycling stateside is just as complicated. Things that are made out of 4 different materials are difficult or impossible to recycle, says Robert Reed, the public relations for a San Francisco-based recycling facility, Recology. While most hard plastics, metals, and even some silicones are eligible for recycling, Chris Fu at Eco USA, a silicone recycling facility, says that the average consumer doesn't have enough knowledge about the materials used to make dolls and robots to know how to sort them out in the first place. If you sent it to a recycling facility, it would just end up in a landfill. Kind of like I said a moment ago. With few formal options, most sex doll owners are falling back on their communities to help them plan for after death. A New Jersey-based idolater who goes by the sobriquet T.J. Fox has had to confront death more than he'd like to admit. His human wife, who has battled various health conditions throughout their marriage, has been dealing with complications from past cancer treatments and is often in and out of the hospital. To cope both emotionally and sexually, Fox purchased his first love doll, a fiery brunette with the piercing green eyes and bold eyebrows called Tasha, whom he refers to as his silicone soulmate. This is really a sex toy, he says. This is something a lot more than that. Or this isn't really just a sex toy, as he said, actually. She's crazy about me, and I'm crazy about her. Like Dave Cat, Fox has given Tasha and his three other dolls thought out personalities. Tasha, for example, is a self proclaimed fashionist who blogs about clothes and occasionally models. I like to say all the best qualities of me, my wife, and maybe some girlfriends I had, he says. And just over the years, people have known that are close to me, the things that make me happy about them, they're all in there. We said quite a bit, didn't he? She embodies the good Fox searches for during his darkest times and thought she could never truly replace his wife. He says he'd depend on Tasha if his wife died. Right now, Tasha is kind of security blankets. He says, ugh, she's there to keep me company. All I have to do is have her there sitting next to me. His wife supports his interest, only asking that he doesn't disclose the dolls existing to their two grown children. An easy trade-off for the benefits Fox receives, he says, but hiding his dolls from his kids wouldn't be possible if he and his wife didn't have a concrete plan in case one or both of them die. We've had enough close calls where my wife is very practical, he says. He's listed the dolls in his estate along with the phone numbers of somebody of his close friends who are also idolaters he met in online and doll forums and at doll conventions, etc. In case of death, those confidants will come to the house, clear everything out before the kids might stumble across them, and make sure the girls are well cared for. Still moving on. Fox, as well as many other in the doll community, are often willing to open their homes and serve as a designated caregiver to their friends' dolls. But taking in a doll isn't a responsibility they take lightly, to say the least. In Arizona, this is a different story. A woman who goes by the moniker Hollywood. Here, I need a drink. It's a long ass story, by the way. In Arizona, a woman who goes by the moniker Hollywood lives with her place-boo partner, Rari, a bubbly doll whose Twitter feed is filled with empowering messages. Hollywood first got Rari in 2016 after seeing Marenco, that's not the wrong, a documentary about a man named Mark Hagenkamp who coped with the aftermath of a traumatic physical assault by creating his own 1.6 scale world using doll, basically. As someone with bipolar disorder, decades of suicidal ideation, and social anxiety, Hollywood says she was inspired to follow Hagen lead to and create a synthetic reality for her own. A decision she feels improved her happiness and health. Rand just added a total different dimensional to my life. She's really helped me a lot of ways, as Halu says. To be able to walk up next to her, come home next to her, it's been great. There's an old saying, be with somebody who makes you a better person. I think that can apply to synthetics and organics, I guess. Now she and Rari have synthetic children, and they raise, alongside their two doll roommates, Kiku and Sadaku, man, these names, who also have synthetic kids of their own. In total, Halu estimates she has 15 babble or babies and 4 or 5 toddlers living under her roof. Halu says she'd never leave Rory behind without a strategic plan in place. Though they haven't met in person, she says Fox, whom she interacted with through the doll forum, is like family and is the only person she trusts wholeheartedly with caring for Rory. He would take good care of her, she says. Still, Hollywood acknowledged that collecting upward of 20 dolls from somebody can be a daunting commitment, especially for Fox, who currently keeps his stored in the basement. I don't want somebody to feel like you're dead and now I have to hold on to all your stuff. That's not cool, she says, adding to that she'd trust Fox to find a good home for the babies and, if necessary, Akiko and Sadaku. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. Inevitably, the designated caregivers will die too. When that day comes, the idolaters I spoke with hope their dolls will be based or passed on to people with similar outlooks. That is to say, people who view dolls as more than just sex toys. Now, this is another story here. Crossing off logistical tasks like drafting is a good start, but when it comes to dying, end-of-life specialist Michelle Ecolectomy, who helps guide people through all aspects of the death process, from providing counseling to planning at home or green burials through their company ending well. In Vermont, she says she'd happily work with somebody who's worried about leaving behind a synthetic lover. They're valid relationships, and their attachment shouldn't be treated any differently, she says. All right, here's the last part of it. My God. Akapati says majority of her clients were abandoning their spouses, children, or even objects like houses. Sex dolls are no different. Dying in so many ways is about losing control, she says. So part of what I try to do, and I hope that I do as well, is help people make their peace with the fact that there are things they can't control anymore. What they can control is who they are to themselves. Dave Cat, Fox, and Hollywood hope the stigmas against human synthetic relationships will disappear as AI and robots become more prevalent, and there's a chance that eventually there will be more formally accepted ways of retiring them when we pass. In the meantime, though, it's up to each owner to develop a plan for their own doll, or not. One Redditor says that while he too enjoys the company of his silicone lover, he's not going to lose sleep worrying about what is to become of it when he dies. When you are dead, he says, you don't care what happens to your doll. At least that's what he says. And that is basically the end of that. I mean, my God. I hope you didn't have to listen too hard to what I was saying just there. Oh my God. I should have just read. I should have just read the first part of that and just left the rest of you guys. Oh my God. But anyway, so I forgot to put something in the link, but what I'm going to put in the link right after I bring out this video and finish it is if you're also, not trying to come up with something special to do with your loved doll after you die or have plans like that, I'm going to put a link in the description where is, this guy, he actually takes in people's love dolls, after they die, and he holds them for a month. You don't have to pay you don't have to pay him anything, although you do have to pay for the shipping, and you can just send it to this person. And like I said, I'm going to put the link in the description here in a moment. But to say the least, that's possibly what I would do if I had still had any love dolls around. And, I just wanted to, just kind of get that out of the way if I felt that I was going to die soon. He's, like I said, he says he will hold them up to a month and you can get it back within that month. But if anything, comes up, let's say that he has held them for at least a month, he will just assume that you're dead and he will sell it off to somebody else that might want it. But anyway, with that being said, if you guys have any more questions, you can ask away, about, love dolls, love doll care, etc. In the right below the video, I'll of course answer your question as usual. And I will see you guys later. Bye.